In 2008, the global economy collapsed, evaporating $20 trillion of human wealth. Millions lost their homes, their jobs, and their life savings in a terrifying instant. The media blamed a vague, complex concept called the subprime housing bubble. But bubbles do not just spontaneously inflate themselves out of thin air. They are carefully and deliberately engineered by very real, greedy people. This was not a natural disaster. It was a highly coordinated financial heist. Today, we are exposing the hidden masterminds who pulled the invisible strings behind the greatest robbery in modern history. These were not shadowy criminals hiding in dark alleyways with loaded weapons. They were celebrated corporate executives and brilliant mathematicians who transformed the American dream into a ticking time bomb. How did a few arrogant men playing with complicated formulas nearly destroy the world? The terrifying answer starts with our first mastermind, Louis Ranieri. Back in the 1980s, home mortgages were incredibly safe and boring. A bank loaned you money, and you paid them back slowly over 30 years. Ranieri had a revolutionary, highly profitable idea. He gathered thousands of ordinary home mortgages and packaged them together into a single, massive financial product. He called this a mortgage-backed security. Global investors bought these securities eagerly because they provided a reliable stream of income. Initially, this was a brilliant concept that helped millions of ordinary people buy homes. But Wall Street quickly realized this new machine could print endless amounts of cash. The big banks desperately needed more mortgages to package and sell to global investors. They soon ran out of responsible borrowers, so they dangerously lowered their standards to feed the machine. This insatiable demand gave rise to our second mastermind, Angelo Mazzillo. He was the tan CEO of Countrywide Financial, America's largest mortgage lender. Mazzillo perfected the dangerous art of the subprime loan. Countrywide began handing out massive loans to people with zero income, zero jobs, and zero assets. They literally called them ninja loans. Mazzillo knew these loans were incredibly toxic and doomed to eventually fail. In leaked private emails, he secretly called his own company's mortgages poisonous and disgusting. Yet, he publicly pushed his employees to aggressively sell these exact same terrible products. Why would he intentionally poison the entire financial system? Because Countrywide never kept the risky loans. They immediately sold them to Wall Street, collecting massive fees without taking any risk. Mazzillo personally walked away with hundreds of millions of dollars before the house of cards collapsed. Wall Street eagerly bought Mazzillo's toxic mortgages to build their own empires. Enter our third mastermind, Richard Flawed, the ruthless CEO of Lehman Brothers. Known aggressively as the Gorilla, Flawed transformed a conservative investment bank into a massive gambling casino. He embraced a dangerous financial concept known as leverage. Leverage simply means using borrowed money to amplify your potential profits. Flawed pushed Lehman Brothers to a terrifying leverage ratio of 31-1. This meant for every single dollar the bank actually owned, they borrowed $31 to gamble with. If the housing market went up by just 3%, they practically doubled their money. But if the market dropped by a mere 3%, Lehman Brothers would be completely wiped out. Flawed ignored constant warnings from his own risk managers, absolutely convinced that real estate prices would never fall. But the ultimate weapon of mass financial destruction was created by our fourth mastermind. His name is Joseph Cassano, famously nicknamed Patient Zero of the global economic meltdown. Cassano ran a secretive division of AIG based in London. He popularized a complex financial derivative called a credit default swap. Think of a credit default swap as a simple insurance policy on a burning house. Investors paid Cassano regular premiums to insure their toxic mortgage-backed securities against failure. Cassano collected billions of dollars in free cash, assuming he would never have to pay out. He arrogantly bragged that his company would never lose a single dollar on these transactions. Because he believed the housing market was invincible, he did not set aside any emergency funds. He built a culture of absolute fear, firing anyone who dared to question his reckless strategy. In late 2007, the inevitable finally happened. The American housing bubble burst. Interest rates rose, and regular homeowners could no longer afford their skyrocketing monthly payments. Suddenly, those toxic ninja loans, approved by Angelo Mozilo, began to default by the millions. The highly toxic mortgage-backed securities sitting inside Wall Street banks rapidly became completely worthless. Richard Fould's extreme leverage strategy at Lehman Brothers instantly turned against him. Because he borrowed $31 for every dollar he owned, the losses were mathematically catastrophic. Panicked investors demanded their insurance payouts from Joseph Cassano's division at AIG. But Cassano had zero money saved to cover the massive $99 billion insurance claims. The hidden masterminds had successfully built an interconnected global financial machine composed entirely of debt, fraud, and arrogance. The entire system froze instantly, sparking unprecedented worldwide panic and chaos. The collapse of Lehman Brothers sent a devastating shockwave across the entire global economy. Credit completely froze, businesses could not make payroll, and trade ground to a halt. To prevent a total societal collapse, the United States government was forced to intervene aggressively. They launched a massive, unprecedented taxpayer-funded bailout to rescue the exact banks that caused the crisis. AIG received a staggering bailout simply because they were deemed too big to fail. But there were absolutely no bailouts for the millions of hard-working families who lost their homes to foreclosure. The ripple effects were devastating. Global unemployment skyrocketed, entire countries faced debt crises, and generations lost their wealth. The worst part? The financial masterminds walked away incredibly wealthy. They kept their huge bonuses, safely shielded from any real consequences. They socialized their massive losses while permanently privatizing their profits. You might think that after a catastrophic global failure, the entire financial system was fixed. But the modern relevance of the crash is deeply unsettling today. While traditional banks face stricter regulations, the reckless gambling simply moved into the shadows. Today, an unregulated sector known as shadow banking controls trillions of global dollars. Hedge funds and private equity firms operate completely outside the safety nets of central banks. They are utilizing extreme leverage, just like Richard Fould did at Lehman Brothers. They are packaging risky corporate debt into complex instruments, just like the toxic mortgage securities. The names of the exotic products have changed, but the underlying greed remains the same. The masterminds of today are still building explosive financial bombs behind closed doors. We have not eliminated the systemic risk. We have only hidden it away from plain sight. This brings us to the ultimate, unsettling truth about the financial crisis. The men who orchestrated the collapse were never brilliant economic visionaries. They were simply opportunists who realized accountability only applies to the working class. When a regular citizen commits financial fraud, they are sent to prison immediately. But when a Wall Street executive destroys the economy, they are rewarded with a bailout. The system is not broken. It is functioning exactly as it was designed to function. It is a machine built to privatize gains for the elite and socialize losses for the public. The masterminds did not make a mistake in 2008. They executed a perfect, legal extraction of wealth from the middle class to the top 1%. And because nobody went to jail, there is absolutely nothing stopping them from doing it again. If you do not understand the hidden mechanics of finance, you will always be its victim. The next major crisis will not come from subprime mortgages. It will come from a new financial weapon that the public does not yet understand. Your only defense against the next inevitable collapse is financial literacy and independent critical thinking. You must learn to spot bubbles before they burst and protect your wealth from the masterminds. Who do you think was the worst culprit of the 2008 financial crisis? Was it the greedy banks, the blind regulators, or the corrupt ratings agencies? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you want to survive the next economic crash, hit that subscribe button right now. Like this video, turn on the notifications, and I will see you in the next documentary.